Hi, and welcome to an intermediate Pilates mat detailed instruction video. During this video, I am going to be breaking down the new exercises only that will be showing up in the intermediate flow video. So all of the exercises that were previously discussed in our Essential Level 1 and Essential Level 2, I will not be breaking those down again now. I think we have about 19 new exercises in this one, so that should be plenty to go through. So what I'm going to start off with is an exercise called slow double leg stretch. This exercise perfectly demonstrates what takes the essential work and makes it intermediate, in that we will now be encompassing coordination with endurance, with stamina. There's definitely some choreography elements to some of the exercises, so just be prepared for that. Okay, so the one nice thing about this particular exercise is that it comes in the middle of a long series of abdominal exercise. So your single leg stretch, obliques, double leg stretch, and scissors are all done in thoracic flexion. It's a long time to be up there. So slow double leg stretch falls right in the middle of those, and it does allow for you to lay down and then go back up into flexion, which is nice. Okay, so I'm gonna break this one down and we'll discuss it so that when you get to the flow video where the breakdown does not occur, you will be prepared. So you will have just come out of obliques. And then what happens is we will lay down, and I'm going to turn here so you can see for just a moment. My legs are in a diamond shape. So I have my toes together, knees apart, and my hands are pressing lightly into the outsides of my knees. So that is the start position. This exercise has 6 different breaths to it. So there's a breath for each element. So I'm starting in that diamond shape, and I'm ever so slightly pressing my hands into my knees and my knees into my hands, and that's going to promote some shoulder stabilization awareness. I'll inhale to prepare. As I exhale, I head nod, and I come into thoracic flexion. That's the only thing that happens on the exhale. Then on the inhale, I'm reaching my legs and my arms out. So this looks like the 100. So you'll hear it cued like the 100 position. Okay, so those were the first 2 movements. The next one is that my arms, I'm going to do the arms by themselves. The arms go overhead. They will circle back around to this 100 position, and then we come back down. So that could be the version of it you choose, because the leg choreography can become a little bit complicated. So again, I breathe in to prepare. Exhale, flex up. Inhale to the 100. I'm not going to do the legs this time. Exhale as my arms go over, circle. Inhale back to the 100. Exhale back down. Okay, now I'm going to show you the legs. So we breathe in. Exhale up. Inhale to the 100. So as my arms go overhead, the legs aren't doing anything. But as my arms circle, my legs rotate, flex, point, back to the 100, and down. So again, breathe in. Exhale, head nod, flex. Inhale to the 100. Exhale overhead. Laterally rotate, flex, point, back to the 100, and down. Now, that does take almost a dancer brain to coordinate. So if you find that that's a little bit too much, one thing you could do is, so we inhale, prepare, exhale up, inhale to the 100. Just have the feet follow the hands the whole time. So I went right into my flexion there. I circled, I pointed. Flex, circle, point. Flex, circle, point, and down. And you may find that a little less integrated, or a little less involved, I guess, to integrate. So let's put that all together again. Inhale, prepare. Exhale, flex up. Inhale to the 100. Exhale over the head. Inhale, circle. Back to the 100. And down. And then what would happen from there is we'd come back up and we would be going into our double leg stretch and then into our scissors. So that's what you would see there. Okay, so from there, what we're going to do is we are going to go ahead and move into the intermediate shoulder bridge. So for this particular exercise, there's again a little bit of endurance and a little bit of coordination. So I start down. I'm going to go ahead and do my foot setup. So what we've done already is we've done the lift and we've done the little bit of a weight transfer. What we're going to add now is the long leg. So I inhale, prepare, exhale, hinge up, okay? Then on my inhale, I'm going to peel one of my feet, heel, ball, toe, off the floor. Now we did the prep where you just went to here at the essential level 2. But what we're going to do now is as we peel that foot up, we bring it through tabletop to extension. From here, we flex the foot, lower the leg, and I would just say about knee to knee, point the toe, lift, lower, lift. We do this 3 times. Lower, lift, bend the knee, toe, ball, heel, down. Other side. Peel, toe, ball, heel, tabletop, stretch. Flex the foot. That's an exhale down. Inhale up. Exhale down. We're trying to keep our hip at the same height the whole time. Bend the knee. Toe, ball, heel, take a breath in, and let's exhale the hips down. Okay? So let's put that together. Breathe in, exhale, extend the hips up. Inhale, peel one foot up. Exhale to lower the leg. Inhale to lift it. Lower. Lift, trying to hold the hip up as you lower. Last one, 3 times, bend the knee, toe, ball, heel, other leg peels up, and again, we exhale it down, inhale, exhale, one more, hold it up, bend the knee, toe, ball, heel, breathe in, stay, exhale, set the hips down, okay? So that would be your intermediate shoulder bridge. Now we are going to progress the rollover. So what we've done so far, we had our crossed ankles and we did our little rock back and forth, picking the hip up maybe. And I mentioned in that video that in some ways I find that prep more difficult than the full exercise. And I think that you may experience that as well. So I will imprint tabletop legs. Now what happens here is the legs are sent away to whatever level you can keep control of the low back. So you can either stay in an imprint, you might be in neutral, but the legs only go down as far as you can keep your low back from going into an extended position. So this is really about it for me. So what's going to happen is that I'm going to inhale to bring my legs towards me, exhale, rolling over so that I'm resting on my shoulder blades. So here's what I would say about that, is inhale. Don't be eager to pick up your bottom. Keep bringing the legs towards you until it becomes necessary to pick up your bottom. And we're going to stop right here this time. So that was my exhale. I'm on my shoulder blades. My arms are pressing down. My chin is away from my chest. I'm going to inhale, open the legs about shoulder distance apart so I can see the ceiling. Now what I like to do is exhale, flex the feet as I roll down. I like that little calf hamstring stretch. Now on the way down, your shoulders are going to beg to come off the floor. You have to keep pushing into the mat with your arms and bringing your shoulder blades towards each other. If it's too significant, bend the knees on the way down. So inhale, exhale, inhale, open, exhale, down. Now I'm going to show you the full version of this, and there's an element that happens in the rollover position that may or may not be appropriate. And there's days it's definitely not even appropriate on my body, but I'll do my best today. My inhale to hinge, my exhale over. So here's where we've gone. On that same exhale, once you get here, what you're going to try to do is lengthen the hamstrings enough that you can lower your legs and maybe touch the floor. Inhale them back up, separate, and roll back down. So I'm going to stay here again. So let's pretend I've rolled over. Exhale to here, continue to exhale, and I may not go all the way down, and then back up. What's important is that as you're lowering the legs, you're not dropping out of your spinal position. So I stay in the same spinal position. It's my hamstring that's allowing for that lowering and permission of my lumbar erector tissue. And then up, open, and down. Okay, so I'm going to put one of those into flow. Okay, so what that would look like, exhale, prepare, hinge on the inhale, exhale to roll over, and lower the legs. Inhale to lift and open, exhale to roll down. Okay, so that's the intermediate rollover. It is definitely a challenge, so certainly modify it if you still feel the need to do so with the prep. So if you take the intermediate flow, you may find that not all of these exercises are appropriate at the same time, so you may build into each of them. So what we're going to do now is progress the one leg kick. At the essential level, you were laying down and your forehead was laying on the backs of your hands. Now again, just for mic purposes, I'm going to leave my head up a little bit. The choreography was point, flex, and lower. Exhale, point, flex, and lower. At the intermediate level, we come up onto the elbows. So let's do this together because I want to make sure we get there in the proper way. Initially, when you come to your elbows, your body's going to always look for the path of least resistance, which is going to look like not picking up your abdominals, your stomach's kind of hanging out, your low back's probably a little compressed, and your shoulder blades are probably up against the spine. None of that's allowed. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to tell our elbows to draw back and push the floor away. Okay? So we were relaxed. We're going to draw the elbows back and then push the floor away. And that's going to pull our shoulder blades, our mid-back active, pec active, and then your abdominals had to draw up as well. So your pubic bone is on the mat, but your hip bones are not. Now there's one caveat to that. If you have rather large quadriceps, your pubic bone may not be on the mat. So just keep that in mind. So that's the position we're in. We're in a long dart line, as neutral in the spine as we can be. Same leg choreography, point, flex, and down. Point, flex, and down. Watch that you're not ballistic in the bounce because you don't want your body shimmying backwards and forwards. You may not bend the knee as far up as you did laying down. So if your quadricep is tight or your hip flexor is tight, by picking the hip up off the floor, we've taken the hip further from the knee, and all the tissue that crosses those two joints is being asked to do more now. So that may be why you can't go as far. And then you can go ahead and bring that down. Let's go ahead and take a quick shell stretch. And then the next exercise I'm going to add is the full breaststroke, okay? So at the essential level, we did some preps, and I've kind of saved this for now just because of the choreography element to it. So what's going to happen is we're back on our stomachs, and as you'll recall, our breaststrokes, we had here, hands beside the shoulders, we had low, hands beside the hips, and low, hands under the forehead. This exercise is going to encompass all of those in a variety of ways. So the strength needed to do those preps is needed here. So what happens is we start off in the same position with an inhale. But on the exhale, I'm going to hover. So basically this number 2 position, that's where I'm at, but I've taken my arms overhead. So if you go back to prep number 3 with your hands on your forehead, the strength needed to do this is there to develop the strength for this. Okay? So breathe in, exhale, hover, forward. You look like a flying Superman. Now as I inhale, my arms are going to circle around the sides to my hips as I come up into my extension. Now to get back down, I'm going to bend my elbows. So if you were standing above me right now, I just made the letter W. And then I shoot back through. Inhale up. Exhale, bend through. So I haven't gone all the way back down to the floor between reps. I'm kind of in extension, in a hover. When you go into the extension, it's tempting to go too high. So make sure that the pubic bone and the tops of the feet have stayed on the mat. And through. Let's say this is our last one. We've circled around. We're just going to bring the arms down and recover. And then you would push back and take a shell. So I put a shell between one leg kick and this, just because you're learning the both. But in the flow, those two go kind of right into each other. Okay, so the next one is an exercise called open leg rocker. It's actually one of my favorite mat exercises, just because it's a crapshoot if you're ever going to get it that day or not. So it's a little like rolling like a ball, in that we do the roll back and the roll forward. So if rolling like a ball was not appropriate for you for whatever reason, if you've got flat spots on your back, if you have a scoliosis, you do the preps. You could do a prep here as well. So what I'm going to do is come into my half roll back. I'm bringing my legs up and I'm holding on behind my knees. So right now I'm in a big curved spine. But what I'm going to do is keep the curve in my low back, but lift my upper back. So I'm kind of in a teaser shape. So what's going to happen is as I roll back, I go back into that curve. But every time I roll back up, I stop shy of my sit bones and I lift my chest, just like our teaser preps. So what it looks like is an inhale back, exhale, and lift. Create the curve and up. So I initiate with lumbar flexion. As soon as I get to the top, I'm trying to not sit higher on my sit bones. I'm trying to lift the chest. So if you go back to all the preps we did in our essential flow on teaser, that's what we're looking for. Now what we're going to add is as we roll back, we're going to straighten the legs and then bend them as we come back up. Straighten, bend. Now I notice I'm not landing on my head, or at least I'm trying not to. If you roll back by just tipping, you'll often go too far and end up on the head. But also the legs are heavier now, and you may find that they cause you to roll further over. Okay, the full version of this exercise is done with the legs straight the entire time. So I would be holding on wherever I can reach where my shoulders are stable. So for some of you that may be lower on the leg, for others of you it may be higher up even on the foot. So I do the same inhale to roll back, exhale to roll up. So as I'm rolling up now, I'm pushing my hands into my legs and my legs into my hands to maintain traction, and then I kind of walk my eye gaze up above the feet. Okay, so that is open leg rocker. Whew, again, it's a fun one. Now we're going to go into an exercise called neck pull. Now for neck pull, this is a lot like the roll up, just with some slight different arm choreography. So just like with the roll up, you could do this with bent knees going up or with straight legs going up. I'm going to straighten my legs. They could be together or apart. Your hands can either be on the forehead or behind the head. The key is that what we're attempting to do is roll all the way up with your hands in one of those two positions. Now I'm going to tell you right now I cannot do that. So there is a modification for those of us that can't. But what I want you to watch for is if you are attempting to roll all the way up with your hands either in front of or behind the head, that at no point on the way up are you allowed to let your elbows cheat and bring you forward. They have to stay wide the whole time. So what happens here is we start to lift on the inhale. That's different than the roll up. So I'm at about my halfway up position. Now, this is where we'd have to imprint to go the rest of the way. I just do not have the strength right now to roll up with my arms here. So what we would do is our arms would come down and they scoop as we go through our low back. And we all meet here, or again, hands behind the head. Now we stack the spine up, and you can roll back down, which we know, or you can hinge until you can't hinge anymore, and then you roll down. Okay, so we breathe in to start. Exhale, we're either scooping or we're continuing to journey up and over the legs. Inhale to sit up straight. Exhale, rolling down or hinging down. And I'll say the same thing here. If it gets too heavy, let the arms go away and let them come back. Because what your arms are doing is they're making you heavier. They're just making the whole exercise more difficult. So once more, there's the head nod to roll. Exhale to scoop up over the legs. And then we're going to do a slow rebuilding of the spine. Okay, and then from there we would go into obliques rollback, which we already know. Okay, so next new exercise is called Jackknife. Jackknife is basically going to build on the rollover. Now, because I put the flow together all at once and I didn't break it down into a flow 1, flow 2 with intermediate, I will say that in terms of introducing new exercises, I would not introduce the full rollover and Jackknife typically at the same time, because Jackknife is a progression. There's about 4 of these in the flow. So if you do find it's not appropriate just yet, you could do the rollover or just skip it. Any of the exercises, just take a break. So we are once again finding our imprint, tabletopping the legs, reaching them out. Now the rude part here is that we don't get to 2-breath this rollover. Now it's all done on an inhale. So it's a long inhale to here. Now on this exhale, I'm going to engage my glutes and I'm thinking of taking my feet up the wall behind me. Now, I should not have changed where I was on my shoulder blades during that. So I'm going to come back down. It's almost the opposite of the rollover, right? The rollover went down. So I'm using my glutes. I'm coming up, coming up, coming up, coming up, coming up, coming up. What I'm not doing, and I'll show you what I don't want you to do, is I'm not lifting my spine. If you were to just watch my spine, it does not change position during that motion, okay? I breathe in there and stay. Now on the exhale, I'm going to try to roll down, keeping my legs like that as long as I can. It's not very long for me, as you can see. I had to bring them on back down. So, inhale all the way over. Exhale, let's do 3 of these where we lift, lower, no change in the weight on the upper back. In the flow, we don't keep repeating. I just want you to build some muscle memory here. Stay on an inhale, and then as you roll down, legs away, legs away, legs away, legs away, legs away. Whew, as far as I had. All right, let's just do 1 in full form. Inhale over. Exhale, extend the hip. Stay for an inhale. Exhale, rolling down, sending the legs away until you can't any longer. And then bring the knees in. Okay, so the next new exercise comes from the side leg lift series. This is actually an essential exercise, but it is quite a challenge, and I want to put it in here. So I'm not going to go through the whole leg lift series, and I'm not going to do this on both sides. We'll just do it on one. So what we've just done is we've done our staggered legs. We did both legs. Okay. So what's going to happen now, hand to hip. Yes, you could keep it on the mat. If you're too wobbly, keep it there. This hand now has to be long because I'm going to be pushing it into the floor. So here's what happens. I am starting to lift both legs, and I'm starting to laterally flex my neck. Now from here, this doesn't get to sink in. I want to pull it up as I push the floor away from me with my bottom arm. And then it slid in just a little bit, not a lot. And then as I go back down, I'm lengthening back out. So let's try that with the hand on the floor first. Legs start to lift, head starts to lift. Now from here, the work occurs, and what your body will want to do is it's going to want to sink into the mat to lift. I don't want it to do that. I want you to push the floor away with the arm and then draw the lat to pull the armpit towards closed. It's not going to close, but that's your intention. And then back down. What this arm in front of you does is it helps alleviate some of the side-to-side rotation. It also takes a little bit of the weight off the exercise. Now you could go back to trying it here. I realize this is quite a progression, so just know you'll build to different levels in your Pilates practice. And it will happen at its own time, at its own pace. Anytime we try to rush through, we actually set ourselves back and then down. Okay, and then let's let that leg come forward. Let's turn our head because your neck, your side, your lateral flexors of the neck just did get a little bit of challenge there. Okay, and then we're going to come back up. Okay, so now we go into an exercise called double leg kick. Once again, it will have some choreography from exercises you already know. So it's got a little bit of one leg kick in it, it's got a little bit of breaststroke in it, a little bit of swan dive, kind of all blended together. So what happens here is I start off laying with my head to one side and my hands are as high up on my back as is comfortable. So that's about it for me. I like to keep the elbows active, however you could let them flop to the floor. I just don't particularly care for that myself. Okay, so here I am. I'm going to take both of my legs and bend my knees towards me 3 times. 1, 2, 3. Now, as the legs straighten, I just imagine that there was a cord attached to my hands so that as my legs went out, my arms went down with it. And I'm going to turn, almost like breaststroke prep 2, to center. From here, I'm going to open my legs and lift. Then I'm going to come back to that breaststroke prep 2 on my way to the other side. 1, 2, 3, draw, straight, lift and open, back to straight, turn the other way. 1, 2, 3, draw long, lift and open, long, turn. 1, 2, 3. Straight, lift, lower, and down. Probably not one you've seen a lot of. It's a complicated exercise to teach. This is actually the perfect setting for you to kind of learn it at your own pace. In a group setting, it's a lot to synthesize to get a group to cohesively build that up together. Okay, there's a lot of rolling from the floor up in this workout. So we are going into teaser 1. So we had a lot of preps at the essential levels, and this is going to kind of build those into a little bit of a more cohesive exercise. So at the essential level, one of the ones you had, we had one leg up, we put it down, other leg up, we put it down, we rolled up. So for this one, both legs are up and you're rolling up from the mat. Now, it's not unusual, but it is not common for someone to be able to put their legs in a position to start that they would not have to move as they rolled up. So I'm going to start with the bent knee so I can show this to you. Arms are up, they're over my head. So as I roll up, obviously my legs are too close to me. I'm going to bump into them. So as I roll through my low back, I'm going to move my legs out of the way. The challenge is that I'm going to try and not let them crash onto the floor. I'm going to still use 4 breaths. I'm breathing in. As I exhale, here we go. I'm going to move my legs out of the way so I can roll through my low back. And remember our teaser position? I stop there, inhale to lift the arms, And then as I exhale, I'm rolling back down. Remember, we try to keep our arms with us as long as we can. That's kind of what I need today, is to take my arms back forward, and here I am again. Inhale, lift the chest, lift the arms. If lifting the arms is not appropriate, just leave the arms out in front, but still lift the chest. Otherwise, you're here. Exhale, try to keep the arms with you. Forward when you need to. Now, the other option is to do that with the legs straight. I'm going to have the same issue. I will have to lower them slightly. My hamstrings don't like this, so I'm going to bend my knees at the top for this position, but then as I go back down, I can straighten them back out again and come down. So I could be out, breathing in, exhaling to roll through, inhale to lift, exhale down. Okay? And I'm just going to give my knees a little hug into the chest. Please, please, please be careful. Now, if your body's already getting fatigued, learning some of this new stuff, you can watch the rest of the video and pick the ones that feel appropriate. I don't think that we have anything else where we're rolling through the low back, so that I, for one, am very grateful for that at the moment. So we're going to flip over onto the stomach now, and we're going to progress our swan dive slightly. So legs are shoulder distance apart. They're laterally rotated. Hands are beside my shoulders. So as you'll recall, in swan dive, we kind of find breaststroke, elbows push. We find our extension with our hip bones up and our pubic bone down, but this is unlike one leg kick. I am extended now. So here's what's going to happen. We're going to add the slow rock. So I want you to imagine pulling your mat backwards, or your floor, and your legs start to activate and lift. You're going to rock down to breaststroke prep 1. That's it. So we already know it. Now to go back up, lift the chest, press into the arms, let the legs lower. You're like a little rocking back and forth. Exhale, legs lift, mat pulls. Breaststroke prep pause. The most common mistake I'll usually see here is loss of the head. So watch for the neck dropping too low. Inhale up, exhale. Inhale up, exhale. So the legs initiate the rock forward. The upper back initiates the lift. I'm going to leave my legs down this time and lower. Okay, we're going to add our swimming exercise. So for swimming, legs are actually a little closer, about hip distance apart. Arms are overhead. So as you'll recall, we did this opposite lift. But now what we're going to do is everything's going to be lifted, and we're going to flutter the arms and the legs. So take a breath in. Exhale. Lift the chest. Both legs. Both arms. And then we opposite arm, opposite leg. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale. 2, 3, 4, 5. In. 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale. 2. The pace is what you can control. The breath can sniff and puff, or it can be long, just like the 100. You're trying to use glute, glute, glute. Otherwise, you will bend the knee. We don't want to bend the knee. Now let's take all points, breathe in, stretch, exhale down. Let's push back for a shell. You can bring your hands in close, actively curve the back. You could also go into your quadruped, your cat stretch, child's pose, whatever feels good here. And then from here, we are going to progress our leg pull front. So we're going out of the prep mode into the full. So at the prep level, that was this one, where you were on all fours, you hovered, you lowered, you hovered, you added the knee. This is another one where in some ways I think the full exercise is in some ways easier. However, it is done in plank. So we want to make sure that we've got our shoulder stabilizers set. So let's do this first. Let's find plank and then just put the knees right back down. Okay, so that way we know where we want our knees to be. Spread out your fingers, push each fingertip into the mat, creating almost like a pocket under the palm. Push your mat forward, draw the backs of the ears to the ceiling, draw the abdominals away from your shirt. Now use your quads to lift up the legs. Okay, so here's the exercise. One leg lifts up, flexed foot. Glide backwards on the other foot and point that toe. Glide forwards and flex it. Place it down. Lift the other leg. Glide, so you're stretching the calf on the floor. Forward, down. Most common thing I'll see on this is as people glide, they lift up their butt. They omit the stretch. Now your bottom stays at the same height the whole time. Lift, glide, flex, down. Lift, glide, flex, down. One more. Lift, glide, flex, down. And the knees come down. And again, you can take a shell. If your wrists took any of that, you give them a quick little flip over. Okay, and now we're going to add hip twist. I'm going to do this one on a diagonal to hopefully give you the best view. So first thing I want to do is want to come down to our elbows. Okay, so what you want to do here is push the floor away, give yourself a full neck so you don't have any sinking. Neck is up. Upper back is somewhat lengthened. Low back is going to imprint. So in fact, it's almost posteriorly tilted. It's almost past an imprint to a tuck of the glute. One leg up, other leg up. Now I'm going to have you take your hands to your rib cage because I want you to get feedback on this. What's going to happen is we're going to twist our hips in kind of a circle. And as they do that, it's going to want to take your ribs with it. That's the challenge, is we don't want our ribs to go with it. So I'm going to drop away from you. Windshield wiper your legs away. Now, the legs, without changing the bend in the knee, are going to go away from you. Where your hands are, notice, do your ribs want to go too? Don't let them as the legs come around, back, pause, go the other way. So now I'm dropping towards you. I'm opening up my hip joint. I'm not straightening my knees here. Coming back, around, and hold. So every time we reverse. So here's what you're not doing. You're not straightening your legs on the way out. You're opening the hip. Try to hold the bend in the knee. Hold the bend in the knee. For some people, that's too much to coordinate. So you can go straight legs, still hold the ribs, drop to one side, circle around. Don't let these guys go with it. This is why I like the elbow version, because I can put my hands on my ribs to see if I'm cheating. It's an exhale to start, inhale back. Okay, bend the knees, place them down. There's another version of this. It's not the version I'm going to do in the full video, but you could. Hands are behind you, and they're kind of quite a bit behind. Fingers are pointed away from you, not behind you. And it's the same exercise. There's less work in the shoulder blade here, and then the straight leg version, which I cannot even demonstrate. My hip flexors nor my low back enjoy that, not even a little bit. Okay, all right guys, almost there. The next one I want to show you is seal. Once again, seal is actually an essential exercise, but it's a high-end essential exercise, so I've saved it for now. What we do is we go into our roll back again. If you want to watch it first, you can, because I'm going to take my hand and wrap it inside my leg. If you're really broad in the shoulders or your hips don't go wide enough for you to do that, you could hold on to the outsides. So you're hugging the legs. What happens is I'm going to roll back and forward. So I inhale back, exhale up. What I will say about the legs in this position is that I can pull my legs to the floor to kind of help me up. Now with seal, what we're trying to demonstrate is control and balance. So we're going to roll back, try to pause there and clap the legs, come back up, clap the legs. You could do that for 2 or up to 3. 1, 2, 3. It's not meant to be a clap on the way down and on the way up. It's meant to be a bit of a pause there. So that's that control. If I stop my momentum, I've got to use the strength that I've acquired to date to get myself back up. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so that is seal. That one may have been a little bit easy, simply because we've done a lot of rolling stuff. Okay, now we're going to take side bend and then finish with push-up. So for side bend, we're no longer going to be resting on the knee. We're actually going to be coming up and resting on the foot. So here's the setup here. I've got my bottom knee bent. My top heel is fitting into the front of that ankle joint. My hand is in line with my hip. So on the preps, remember we had our hand forward in line with the knee. Now our hand is back. This hand is on top. My goal is to side bend the spine. So the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to push into this front foot, lift the hip, and push into my bottom hand. So what it's going to look like is I'm pushing, I'm side bending. The last thing that happens was that my legs straightened. And then I will come back down. If you try to straighten your legs too soon, you will not have enough room between your foot and your hand to do that because they're closer together, because the goal is that you're in a bend, not in a diagonal line. So start to push, use this arm to direct you over. Side bend. So notice my hip is high. If that helps, I want you to think of someone taking hold of this hip and lifting this hip to the ceiling. And then the legs extend all the way out. So once again, breathing in and exhaling out. It does require quite a bit of shoulder stabilization, so you can go back and look at how the preps are really preparing you for what's coming. Again, I'm just going to do the one side since we're just learning this in breakdown form. Okay, the final thing we're going to do is push up in plank today. So, if you would, just kind of take one leg back, figure out the proximity. You can do a real quick check and put the knees back down. I like to get the shoulders set up before all the weight is loaded on them. Fingertips pressing down, push the mat forward, lift the knees, and the whole time you're here, you're pushing the floor away from you. It's just like the previous ones where we lower down 1, 2, 3, exhale. Hips come with you. The challenge now is you're just heavier. You're so much heavier with your knees off the floor. And then you can do the same hand position. So you could make the triangle, or you could have your elbows hugging the rib cage on the way down. So if plank is not quite achievable yet, when you get into the intermediate flow, you can certainly just continue to do the kneeling version of that exercise. Whew, even breaking those down is a workout. So please go through this video a few times. This is set up a little differently than the essential detailed exercises. We didn't have a lot of repertoire yet, so I was able to keep adding new stuff into the middle of the stuff you already know, or kind of revisiting the stuff that we had learned. I'm not doing that now because this would be a 2-hour long video. So the stuff that I did not go over really doesn't change in any significant way from the way you've already learned it. So this video was to take the exercises like shoulder bridge and rollover that did change, and then also to add in the new stuff like jackknife and side bend that you have not yet learned. So go through this, practice these, and then give that flow intermediate workout a go. And it clips along quickly in the beginning. I think I got slower at the end. But know that you can start adding these in. You don't have to add them all in at once. You can break them down and skip some of them too. If I wasn't teaching this video, there's a few exercises in the repertoire that are not appropriate on my body, and I don't typically do those in my own workouts, but I don't want to cut them out for everyone, as they may be appropriate for some of you. As always, if you have any questions, please email me at bodypotentialtraining@gmail.com. And thank you so much for joining me today.